Hello everyone, my name is SteveTVOnline, and I'm going to be running New Super Lucky's Tale for the Switch that came out in November of 2019, and since then the community has grown quite a bit and we've found tricks, skips, and lots of movement-based stuff that I'm going to be showing off in this run. The New Game Plus category requires us to gather up only the last page in each one of the main levels of each world, and then beat the boss. And before I go into start the run, I'm going to explain our main movement in this game, which is called bonk hopping. What you do is against a wall, you're going to do a dive against it, then you're going to either jump and swipe or swipe and jump, which will then refresh your jumping, or your bonking, and your jumping, and you will be able to infinitely climb up almost any single wall in this entire game. So the timing begins the second that I go into this portal here in 3, 2, 1, go. So the first trick that we're going to do before we actually do bonk hopping is actually called head skip or Giovanni skip. What normally you have to do is you have to take this golem head around the entire course, and then you have to put them into different pedestals up at the very top floor to complete it. However, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be grabbing the head and taking over to a path that you're normally not supposed to be able to do, pick him up, and then get him up to the next level and just leave him. This trick was actually found by somebody who doesn't even speedrun the game in the original game that came out 2 years prior to this game, and it's stayed in since. So we're going to grab the head, go over here, instead of going down below. We're going to drop him about right there, jump up here, grab him, and then go onto the elevator, which can only be activated if Giovanni is with you. So then we're going to drop him and leave him there. He doesn't need to join up with his body. And then we're going to go over here and just slide away. And then this is where we go into our first bonk hop of the game. And it just happens to be one of the trickiest ones in the entire game. And just like that, the dialogue is over. Man. Man, my fingers are starting to go all wonky. One more time. All right. Oh. Once I get past this first level, then my runs can continue on. This first bonk hop is just terrible. Hello everyone, my name is SteveTVOnline, and I'm going to be running New Super Lucky's Tale for the Switch that came out in November of 2019. I'm going to be running on the digital version, which saves quite a lot of time over the physical version of the game. And in New Game Plus category, it just requires you to gather the last page of each main level of all of the worlds, and then beat the final the boss in each one of those worlds. There are 5 worlds in total, so we're going to be collecting all the pages in between those worlds. And before we go into the game, I'm going to explain one of the main tricks that we're going to be doing throughout the entire run, which is called bonk hopping. And in order to do that, you're going to be doing your burrow move, and then you're going to jump and tail swipe or swipe and then jump, which will then reset your bonk. So doing this against a wall will allow you to infinitely jump up almost any single wall in this entire game. So the timing begins the second that I enter into the first portal here in 3, 2, 1, go. So our first trick that we're going to be doing isn't actually bonk hopping. The first trick we're going to be doing is called head skip or Giovanni skip. And this transferred over from the original game and was actually found by somebody who doesn't even speedrun the game. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be grabbing the Giovanni head, and instead of going down below where you're supposed to go and dodge fireballs and waiting for pathway or passages to open up so you can go, we're actually going to be taking it over to a different pathway and dropping him and picking him up and going on top of the elevator, which can only be activated if Giovanni is there. So we're going to go grab Giovanni, then we're going to go over here. We're going to run all the way across, drop him about right there, jump up, and then grab him and go up here, which will activate the elevator, and we can go up. And we're going to drop Giovanni and leave him there because he doesn't need his body anyway. So we're going to go here. And then we're actually going to do our first bonk hop, which is by far one of the trickiest because it likes to screw you over quite a bit. Like that. Come on, Lucky. Once I get past this, I'll be fine. Hey, thanks, Mod. You've only seen me mess it up. Oh, Mod, you missed a run. I got to the very last boss and then died. I haven't died on the final boss in a long, long time. So this is... Oh, you've been lurking for a bit. Oh, okay. Hello, everyone. My name is SteveTVOnline, and I'm going to be running new Super Lucky's Tale for the Nintendo Switch. This came out in November 2019. And I'm going to be running on the digital version, which saves quite a bit of time over the physical version. And since November, the community has been finding a bunch of tricks, skips, and movement-based stuff that I'm going to be showing off. And in the New Game Plus category, all it requires me to do is grab the final page in each one of the main levels in each one of the worlds and then beating the boss in that world. And before I go into the portal, I'm going to be showing you the main movement tech that we're going to be... or the main trick we're going to be doing in the run, which is called bonk hopping. We're going to go against the wall and use your burrow move, then you're going to jump and swipe, or swipe and jump. This will reset your ability to bonk against a wall and your jump, and then you're going to infinitely be able to jump up that almost every single wall in this entire game. The timing begins the second that I enter into the portal in 3, 2, 1, go. So the first trick we're going to be doing in this run actually isn't bonk hopping. It's actually called Giovanni skip or head skip, which was found by somebody in the original game that came out 2 years prior to this game, and they don't even do speed running to begin with. So what we're going to do is normally we have to take this Golem head or Giovanni around and drop down, dodging fireballs and waiting for platforms to raise and turn around for you to get over to the elevator. However, if we take it into a different spot, drop him, and then pick him back up, we'll be able to get up onto the elevator much faster and go up to the next floor. So we're going to skip through all this dialogue. Then we're going to go and we're going to roll over to him, pick him up, and take him over here. We're going to run all the way over, drop him about there, jump up, pick him up, and then we're going to go over and raise up onto the elevator. We're going to drop the head here. We're going to roll and leave Giovanni behind because who needs a body anyway? So we're going to go over here. And then we're going to go on to our first bonk hopping adventure, which can actually be very fidgety. Sometimes Lucky just doesn't want to do this. There we go. So after we bonk hop up that wall, we're going to bonk hop over this way, which will cause us to skip over a cutscene where we meet Sparky. And Sparky is a flame by the name you can kind of tell, and he doesn't like furry things. He likes to burn furry things. So we skip over that dialogue, meeting Sparky, and then we're going to bonk hop up this wall here and jump down, and we're going to jump up into the last part of the level. In this last part of the level, normally what you have to do is you have to go up 3 levels, go over a bridge, and hit a switch, which then in turn will activate a cutscene and a bridge for us to go across. However, we're only going to go up 1 level of that, and then we're going to jump across the gap, and then we're going to skip a cutscene over here that's normally activated if you go on this bridge, but if you go on the very outside edge there, you go around the activation for the cutscene, and then you are done with the level. So in each level, what you normally have to do, as you see on the very end there, what you normally have to do to get 100% in the level is you have to collect 300 coins, you have to collect Lucky, L-U-C-K-Y, you have to find a hidden page that's either found inside of a burrow hole or just hidden throughout the level, and then finish the level. And since it's the New Game Plus, all I'm going to be doing is finishing the level and getting that page. So our next level that we're going to be going into is Aqueducts, and Aqueducts is our first 2D level of many, and this is a great place for donations to be read, but I'm first going to explain one thing in this level. You'll see in the background, and you saw it in the last level, you saw a little fox statue in the background, and that fox statue is actually our respawn point, so if you lose a life or fall down, you'll actually respawn at that last area, and if you manage to die, which means losing all 3 of your hearts that you have, if you manage to lose all of those, then you'll just respawn at that last area. So this is very lenient with giving us save points in this game. So that's why it's very marathon friendly. For us to do. There we go. And now we're just going to finish off this area, jump over him. It was a little sloppy, but whatever. We free him out of the cage, turn around and grab that, and we are done with our first 2D level. Another thing I want to point out is you see Lucky's costume there. Giovanni and Sparky, who is now shrunken because the cutscene we skipped in the first level there was actually a cutscene of a golem hand slamming down on Sparky and shrinking him. And those two together, Giovanni and Sparky, are actually selling you costumes that you can change if you complete 100% of levels and beat levels and worlds. You unlock more. And so I just decided to have this as our costume. And now we're going into Heavy Heads, which is actually in every other category besides New Game Plus. This is actually the first level that you'll run into, because it's right out of the cutscene. You'll go into here, and you'll go right here. And you're going to be seeing our 2 fastest movement speeds here. You've been seeing it in the other ones. Our fastest would have to be burrowing underneath the ground, and if you can't burrow and it's on a solid ground, then you're able to slide by using your burrow action, and both of those are the fastest. You do not want to be diving through the air because it actually has a pausing motion, but we also use that dive to lock onto enemies because it has a lock-on mechanism that's with it as well, and we're going to be using that to our advantage later on. So the cat that you saw in the other 2 levels, this is him. This is Master Mittens. This is the first member of the kitty litter. That's your main villain group in this one, and their leader is called Jinx, and he's our main boss that we're going to be going after. So right here in this level, we have to grab up 3 different heads. We have to do this in every single category, and this routing is almost exactly the same on any category that you do. We're going to be doing a bonk hop over here, and normally what you have to do to get up here is you have to go into a burrow hole, and that burrow hole will then allow for you to get up here, but you can just bonk up that wall and get up here a lot faster. Now, if I do everything correctly here, all I have to do is once the cutscene ends, we're going to do a tail swipe, and then we'll land right in here and grab the head. And we will run over this way to turn in head number 2. Now, head number 3, normally what you have to do is you have to go all the way around over to the right and bounce onto a bounce pad, go up and around, and get the head. However, since we have our bonk hopping capabilities, we are going to be able to get through that a lot faster. So we're going to go over here and bonk hop up this wall here. Then we're going to hit that, jump up here and grab that, and we'll see. That's unfortunate. So sometimes you can land on that worm there and he'll give you a little bit of a boost forward because you're very slow when you're walking with the golem head, but we got past him, he didn't hit us, and we didn't lose any time. And as you see, we have all 3 of the golems here and all 3 of the golems' heads, and so now the giant golem is going to spawn in and spawn in the final page for us. That is the reason why we cannot just dive into the air down there and hope to get the page, because it's actually not even spawned in yet. And with that, our golem friend here will give us our page, and we'll slide our way up there and we can grab it. Spam our way through that. Now, this next level that we're going to be going into is a auto-scrolling level, and the auto-scrollers is just as it seems. Lucky's going to be auto-running, and we just have to be doing our diving and jumping to make sure that we don't get hurt too much. But one thing I want to explain before donations can be read is that there's 4 different types of ways to get coins in this game. One is for the small coin, which is worth 1. The big coins are worth 10. The pink small gems are worth 25, and the big blue gems are worth 50. And we are not going to be collecting, really worrying about any of those in this category, but in every other category, we actually collect all 4 of the pages in this level here. So it scrolls through each one of these, or this whole level here. Each one of these auto runners, we're going to have 3 of these throughout the entire thing. Each one of these have a gimmick to it, and this one is just the bounce pads. So we're just going to go underneath that, slide when we can, and finish up the level. So this pathing I'm taking is usually the fastest route that we can take throughout this. I did mess up a little bit at the very beginning there. Okay, that was good. And there we go. So one thing you don't want to do is try and dive with... The reason that I jumped forward past a lot of the bounce pads is because if you try and do a dive when you're over a bounce pad, he'll actually, like I said, he has a lock-on mechanism with his diving, so if you're right underneath it, he will lock onto the bounce pad and waste you a little bit of time, which I unfortunately did do once, but it didn't waste that much time, so we're good. So after that last auto-scroller, we are going to go and we are going to fight our first boss, which we already know who he is, and we've seen him, and his name is Master Mittens. And Master Mittens is basically an auto-scroller without actually being the auto-scroller level because everything is the same. We know what's going to happen. It's just a matter of doing it faster or slower. I'll explain the first couple of tricks and about it. But other than that, this would be another place like a donation or 2 could be read as well. And there's one small time-saving trick that we can do at the very end. A couple of the other bosses have a little bit of... well, one of the other bosses has RNG involved with it, and not really a way to speed up everything. So this first part is just hitting these heads away, and they'll always be in the same spot, so as long as you know where you're supposed to be running, you can either slow it down or speed it up. There we go. And then we're going to grab all of these just because we can. Grab the coin. And then since we have bonk hopping, we're going to bonk hop our way up here. And you can either go underneath all of the fireballs there. You can dodge them all normally, or you can be cool and show off your bonk hopping abilities by getting up top there. So now that we have that, we're going to stand in this spot specifically for 2 reasons. The first reason is the first head that he throws out that we have to shoot back at him, it actually spawns right in front of us. So we're going to hit that right back at him, and then these bouncing fireballs are going to come out, and they're going to bounce right over your head, and as long as you don't move, then they won't hit you. And that was actually carried over from the original game. So we'll do that one more time, and it's going to be the same thing, but it's going to be right, middle, right. But other than that, this is where a donation could be read. Okay, so this trick right here, I got it. So I hit him while he was in his falling animation, which allowed for him to actually fall a lot faster out of the screen and saving 1 second on us. And that is the end of World 1 Sky Castle. We're going to go into the second world, which is Veggie Village. And one thing you're going to notice is I'm actually going to be coming out of a level when I'm in this next area. I'm going to be coming out of the level instead of starting at the very beginning of the world. And that's because before the run started, I actually went into the first level of each world that I want to start in, and then exited out and went to a different world. This will allow for me to jump out of the level I was last in, and I can just turn around and go back. So in this level, this is Pungent Pass. In this level, we are called peasants. We have to find 6 bunnies, and each one of these bunnies calls us peasants. We don't know why. We think that it's the King Rabbit. However, you find out later on, if you read all the dialogue, that there's one rabbit in particular that we're going to be getting that is the reason that we're called peasants. So because of that sole reason, we decided to come up with the name of Barry. And when we get to Barry, I will tell you when we want everybody to yell out, "Screw you, Barry," because we don't like to be called a peasant. Alright, in 3, 2, 1, screw you, Barry. So now that we're done talking to Barry, we're going to be coming up on another really interesting rabbit. He has, not this one, but the next rabbit has the longest dialogue box in the entire game. And what we're wanting to do is we're going to tell him to shut up. His name is EC because we named him EC, or Existential Crisis, because if you read his dialogue box outside of the speed run and Japanese, he's complaining about his life and his wife and kids, so we just called him Existential Crisis. So shut up, EC, and just spam through the longest dialogue box. There we go. We're done, and now we're turning back around to grab the last 2 rabbits that we need to grab here. Here's one, and the other one is back in the back. And as you noticed, these walls have spikes on them, and normally you're not supposed to be able to do bonk hopping over them, but if you do a little bit of manipulation like I did to bounce over these walls, it gets over places a little bit faster and allows for us to get to where we're going. And here's our last one of the level, and we're done. Now, fun fact about the original, the Onion King right there is actually the villain of this level in the original one. But in this one, he's the one that gives us the page. Alrighty. Now we go from this level, Pungent Paths, to the shortest level, one of the shortest levels in the entire game, and it's called egg roll. And in egg roll, normally what you have to do is you have to shrink some chickens and the eggs that they're laying on to a normal size, because the next member of the kitty litter, Tess, which happens to be my favorite member of the kitty litter, has made them big with one of her many inventions that she's created. But the developers and the creators of the game, Playful Corporation, happens to be nice enough to put a hitbox around those chickens, so we're actually able to bonk hop around them using their hitboxes. And this is one of the levels that we're going to be using the lock-on mechanic onto bugs or enemies to our advantage for the first time. So here's our chickens and their helmets, and all of this level that you're seeing on the right-hand side we will never be seeing in this category. All right, let's go, as Lucky says. So there's our chicken that we're going to be using to help us out. Normally you have to hit a switch, and hitting that switch will cause a cutscene to happen. But if you bonk hop around that twice, you're around it and you're good. There we go. Up here. Then we're going to bounce up here and skip the second chicken. So now we skip 2 chickens. However, this chicken up here we actually have to go to, and we have to talk to Tess, because this is the only way that the page will actually spawn in. So we talk to her, and then we go up here to hit the switch to shrink the chicken. And those bees down there, we're going to be doing a dive bomb onto that bee, which will allow for us to access that a little bit easier. Like that. And we have now just completed the fastest level in the game. So now we go from one of the coolest and most fun levels in the game to one of my hardest levels personally to do, and that is Piggy Peril. And this is the first 2D level of Veggie Village, and I struggle with this level for some reason. I don't know why, but I've had a lot of trouble with this level recently. So this is one of those levels that I can try and focus on, and donations could be read, because this is a lot of cycle-based movements. But one of the things I want to point out in this level is one of the gimmicks it has, and it'll show for us a new aspect, and that is conveyor belts. And if you hit those conveyor belts going down or forward, they will actually speed you up quite a bit. Ooh, that was not good, but we're good. We have a save point right there. And that goes for me pointing out that one of the things of this game is if you run past one of those checkpoints that I pointed out earlier on, you're able to get all your hearts back, depending on, no matter how much you got hurt. Unless you get hit 3 times, in which case you will die, and you don't want that to happen. Even with this mishap, that was still pretty decent. We'll take it. Alright. So now that we've finished Piggy Peril, we go from one 2D level into the next 2D level, and that next 2D level is called Rip Rollers, or Ripe Rollers, but the community likes to call it Rip Rollers or Rip Runners, because it can actually ruin a lot of runs. It can be very deceiving on how hard or easy this level is. There we go. So this is another cycle-based movement, and they're gonna show you one aspect of the level that will never be seen again, and those are spike balls. And those spike balls are what can cause a run to really fail pretty hard. So here we go. This is where some more donations could be read. So what I did there is normally you have to wait behind those spike balls in order for you to in order to get to this rolling ball here. But if you do a dive bomb or a dive burrow there, you're able to fall through it instead of getting stopped by it and getting knocked back. So now we go from ripe rollers, which can be run killer, to the longest level in the entire game, and that is Harvest Festival. And Harvest Festival is the first level that we managed to break in this entire game. So a lot of people love it, not for that reason and another reason, which I'll show when we get in here. What this level is about is there are 3 members of the Soggy Boggy Boys band that are missing, and we have to find them, and the sheriff wants us to help him. We have to talk to him, and he'll tell us which way to go, which is usually right, left, middle. But using bonk hopping abilities, we're actually going to go middle, left, right. We're going to do everything completely opposite, and doing that will allow for the game to go a little bit weird, and things are going to look a little bit different than they actually should. So we're going to start up here, right up on top. And we're going to slide all the way down. And there's our sheriff that he has his exclamation point above his head saying that, hey, I have something for you. But we're going to ignore him completely like Lucky likes to do. He's just a kid, you know. He hasn't learned yet. And then we're going to go over here and we're going to grab this key. And yes, there is the worm that we're going to be going up to is up at the top, but if you go up to the top, nothing will happen and the cutscene won't happen, so we have to do this normally. So I'm going to set that key right there, and then I'm going to activate that, and then bring the key right over here. And what I did there is I burrowed underneath the ground and then jumped, which allowed for me to get up to the top as well as hit the switch at the same time. Then I'm going to jump a double jump there and dive, which will get me closer to the key, so I can grab it. Then we're going to drop it down, bring this up. Slide all the way over here, grab the key, drop it down, grab that, grab the key again, drop it down, then go down, hit that, and then hit the final ladder up. And there we go. So there's our worm, our third worm, or first worm, and he's going to talk to us, then he's going to disappear. That's not normally supposed to happen. But in our world it does. In speedrunning world it does. So now this next area is worm number 2. He will always be worm number 2. And what he needs us to do is he needs us to grab 7 fireflies for him in this pathway. And the pathing that we're going to be taking is actually the path that I found, because I kept on getting lost as to where the fireflies were, so I just said screw it and I made a path so I would always remember where to go, and it's the fastest path to do when you're doing bonk hopping. In this level we're also going to be doing our first death warp of the run. There's actually a second one that we're going to be doing in a later level, and that death warp was actually found by me as well, but that one was found by accident. So what I did there is I landed on top of that dock, and I don't hit any more of the docks that are here for the sole purpose of you want to be able to teleport back to that last dock, so then you can head right onto these fruits and jump over here, and you are good to go. Ooh, that was close. We're fine though. So now that we have all 7 of the fireflies here, we're going to jump down here, and we're going to head over to worm number 2, or as we found out by one of the members of the community, this is the only worm we know the name of. His name is Budgie, and Budgie is going to be happy enough, and he's going to show us, give us a song. And one thing I like to laugh about is that third worm in the background isn't even supposed to be here yet, so he's just staring into the distance. So now that we have worm 3 and 2, we have to go get worm number 1. Well, this is what's normally supposed to happen here. So what's normally supposed to happen is you're supposed to go through this whole stealth section where with the farmer and not going out of there and him seeing you, and then you go up to worm number 1, and with that, they give you that burrow hole, so you can go back and forth. But if you go through the stealth, if you go through worm number 3, then 2, that burrow hole is already there because the game's like, hey, you've already found worm number 1, so let's give you the burrow hole so you can go back and forth for whatever reason. And so we're able to just jump in the burrow hole, get him out, and continue on. And so we go into the cutscene of worm number 3 saying, oh, you found me, let's go perform. And now we see the 2 sheriffs that we didn't talk to, and we're going to hear from the greatest country band of all time, Soggy Boggy Boys. So now that they're done performing and everybody's happy and we're out, we're going to go talk to the sheriff, and the sheriff's going to say, hey, good job in finding all of them, here's your prize, and we can just get out of here. So I hope people enjoyed their country music. So now we're going to be going on to the boss of the stage, and that boss is called Tess, as I mentioned before. And Tess has a couple of movement things that you can do to speed up things a little bit. We're going to do one trick that was carried over from the original game that was never changed. So what you normally have to do in this fight is you have to hit switches for each one of you have to hit a certain amount of switches in order to send electricity over to the giant bug that Tess is on in order to stop him. Well, we can speed up that process a little bit by knowing, because all the switches are always in the same spot, and as long as you know where to roll and what ones to hit, you can get it done really fast. And normally what's supposed to happen at this first area here is you're supposed to dodge the attacks of this giant robotic bug. But if the trick that was carried over from the first game, if you go over onto any wooden part over here of this platform and stand right there next to the switch that you're waiting for, then you will be able to dodge everything that he does. So now we're going to be using the dive bomb mechanic again to our advantage since it locks on. Hitting these 4, it's actually really lenient on what you do. So once again, we're going to go right here, just stand here. As long as we're standing on this wooden part, Lucky can't get hit. He does that, then he goes back. We're going to hit the switch. Hit that one. And don't get hit by the laser at all. That's good. Then we're going to get our bug again. and then we're going to stand all the way up here. And what you're going to see here is there's going to be 2 switches that spawn, and those 2 switches, you will be able to hit both of them at the same exact time. So we hit that one, and then we go back here, then we roll all the way over here, and then hit our last 2 switches. And if I do this next part correctly, I should be able to speed up this end process here. Nope, why didn't it not do it? I guess I don't hit, I guess I just have to roll away. So what you can do there is you can actually speed up the dropping of those pillars by sliding away, but for some reason it hasn't been doing it for me recently. It will completely, the screen would go completely black like it did, and it will skip out of the ejection of Tess out of her bot there. But we're fine. So now we're done with World 2, Veggie Village, and we're going to go into Wrestle Retreat. And the theme of this one is wrestling theme, brother. And we're going to be going into our first level here called Eightfold Path. And Eightfold Path has one of the harder tricks in the entire game, and it's called B-Skip. And what we do with B-Skip is normally what you have to do in this level is you have to follow the Yeti's orders, and you have to kill 3 of the fire beetles that are here, and in turn another cutscene will happen showing a bridge rising up out of the ground so you can cross over to the next area. However, the bees that we've seen throughout this entire game, if you stand there long enough, they will actually shoot out stingers at you, and they can hurt you, but what you can also do is you can actually bounce off of those, so we're going to be using that to our advantage by manipulating a bee to shoot a stinger towards the other side of the pathway, and we're going to be doing a jump, swipe, then dive onto the stinger, and if it's done correctly on first try, we should be able to skip. Okay, oops. Okay, that was fine. Ooh. That was not good. We're fine, though. There we go. We got it that time. A little bit wonky, but we'll take it nonetheless. So even with how bad that was right there, that still saves us time from having to do it normally. So now we're just finishing up the level here normally. Get up here, and then down. So like I said, even though I screwed it up a little bit, we're still saving time off of having to kill the bugs there. So that's actually one of the shorter levels as well, even with the mishap. So that's why it's considered one of the harder tricks in the run. Now we're going from one of the hardest tricks to one of the hardest levels. We have another 2D level right here, but instead of being horizontal, it's actually a vertically based 2D level, and you know what that means. If you miss cycles, you will be falling. So this level takes a lot of practice and a lot of patience, and a couple of like 1 or 2 skips that we can, not really skips, but faster sequences that we can get, because this level's a lot of sequence based or cycle based as well. So this is where a donation could be read, because it's a lot of focus going on right here. Okay, we got the left one. That means we're on a good cycle right now. Alright, so now we're coming up on one of the tricks that I found recently. So normally what you have to do here is you have to go back and forth on these bounce pads, and you have to go back and forth to get up here. However, if you do what I did there, you skip having to go back and forth and just only do one bounce pad up. Ooh. There we go. That was a pretty solid ladder state of the mind. So we go from a vertically based 2D level to another 2D level, but this time it's back to a horizontal 2D level, and the level's name is called Melon Madness, which is one of the more fun level names, and it's one of my favorites in the entire run. There we go. That just saves us having to go around and stuff like that. Just a small one. So we have one skip in here, and we have a lot of cycle-based stuff to try and make. So hopefully we can do it. It's a lot of burrowing here. And then we're going to double jump and then dive here. Doesn't matter if we get hit as long as we get that. Good, good, good. And then dive down. Okay, that was not good. I don't know why he did that. We might lose some of our cycles here. This is the one cycle that, oh, I could have hit if I had not messed up there. So right here, we're going to end up going to a melon, and what normally has to happen here is you have to wait for the melon to get stuck right there, and then chopped, and then you can go. However, I found by accident right there that you can actually jump over. There's a hitbox that you can go over by either bonk hopping once, or you can double jump and then tail swipe over, and it skips having to wait for that completely. I found that by accident because I kept on dying in this area, and I was getting sick and tired of doing it. So I tried it, and it worked. Alright, so now all we have to do is we have to jump over here and then go. And there we go, we are done with this level. So this next level is called Peaceful Place, but it's anything but. There's a lot of spikes and a lot of traps, and if it's not done right, it can be very challenging. There's a major trick in this that we like to call skull bonking or skull hopping, and what you normally have to do in that area is you have to go to the right and to the left and hit two switches, which then in turn will open up a rib cage for you to walk through and go to the next area. However, with bonk hopping, we're able to go and we're able to bonk hop over that skull and over and into the next area. And it takes a little bit of focus. So I have my routing down here to hopefully not mess up, and if I do, then I get lost and confused as to what I should do next. So here we go. We're going to go here, here, then slide, double jump, slide, double jump, up, up, slide, double jump, over. That's fine. That's not, however. We have to wait now. That's unfortunate. I don't know how that happened, but... Whew. That was not good at all. Go here, And then we're gonna go right down here, and now we're gonna go into our skull bonking. There we go. Then we're gonna roll over here, and what you have to do in here in this section is you have to go through 3 waves of enemies. The first one being the easiest ones, which are the worms. Then we're gonna go into the bees, and then we have an enemy that we haven't run into yet, which are the bomb cats. And the bomb cats can be killed super easily just by moving the camera angle. That was found by accident. We don't know how it works. It just does. And you don't have to do what you normally do in order to kill those bomb cats, which is to wait for them to throw a bomb and then you hit it back at them. There we go. So that's what can happen in that level, but we're fine. So now that we've completed that, we only have one more level of this world, and that level is an auto-scrolling level. So the gimmick of this one is the conveyor belts that we had in the first world, or second world. I'm sorry, in the second world. And then we're able to speed up, like there's a gimmick for each one of them. So jumping on those, and this path that we're going to be taking is actually the same, basically the same path that every route takes, except for some minor differences, like 1 or 2 differences. Like this one right here we're going to take, this is in every route, hit that. This is in every route as well. Then we're going to go down below, which in other paths we take the top. Then we're going to hit that, go down, this speeds up quite a bit. This is where a donation can be read in 1 or 2. So now that we're done with the auto-scrolling level, we go on to our boss fight, which is a tag team of General Buttons and Lieutenant Fluffenstuff. You saw them in the first level 8-fold path, and you saw their ship, and we're going to be seeing them. There's a little, this is where some of the RNG comes into play, here at the very, like, in this boss. This is one of the first bosses with the RNG, and we're going to hopefully get the best. And there's a couple ways to speed this boss up coming up later on that I'll be able to point out. So it gets mad that we're doing this. This is where a donation or 2 could be read, but I'm going to explain the stages of each one of this fight first, and then I have something in the second phase as well. So we're gonna stand up here. It does absolutely nothing special if you stand up here. I just like to say that it's special because he's closer, but it does absolutely nothing depending on where he's at. So now we're gonna do that, and then they're going to shoot off fireballs like Master Mittens did. So we're gonna bonk hop up here. We're gonna Oh, that's fine. And we're going on to the next phase here, which is the bombs. This is where the RNG comes into play. We want them to shoot up to the front. That was good. That was really good. So then we are losing health. We lost health, but these are the bomb cats again. Normally, like I said, you have to wait for them to shoot off their bombs and then shoot them back. But if you just tail swipe towards them, then it saves a little bit of time of having to wait. So then we're going into this phase one more time, and then I believe the developers have something that they want, a special message that they left for us in the game. L-U-C-K. Lucky, okay. That's nice. Thanks, guys. Lucky's smart, Lucky smell? Lucky smells? Maybe Lucky smells good. Oops. Oh, well, no, not really. It's just Lucky smells. So, the story behind that is one of the level creators of the game, from the original game, wanted that so bad into one of the levels, and he was able to put it in, but there was only like a 1% chance or like 3% chance, a very small chance of it to actually show up in the fireball patterns. So in this game, they just decided to put it in as one of the only patterns that they have in here. There we go, and so right here it's just the same old, just waiting for the bombs here, or the fireballs to end, so we can finish up this boss fight. So this is where I laugh because Lucky gets super excited. He just watches the fireballs down below him. So if I'm up there for too long, then the bomb will actually fly way up into the air and shoot way up into the air off of the screen because we're someplace that we're not even supposed to be, and then it'll come back down. You can hit it, but that wastes time as well. So I got average RNG with 2 bombs up in the front and 1 in the back. That's around average. It's very rare for 3 of them to show up in the front. There we go. So now we're done with Restful Retreat and we're going on to Gilly Island. And Gilly Island in the original game was actually a DLC that was added in later on to the game. But in this game they made it part of the main storyline and part of the main levels. So we have to play it. And this first level right here, we actually have a couple of skips and tricks that we do. One of them is another death warp. And the other one, I'll just leave it for the end. But I want to give a very special shout out to a special guest that we have inside of this level. You might recognize him when you see him. If anybody has played the game Octodad Dadliest Catch, then you will know of the main character called Octodad. And well, he decided to show up in this game. And if everything is done correctly, that's the only time that you're going to see Octodad. So besides this game being another version of Bonk's Revenge, sorry Bonk's Revenge runners, we also have Octodad Deadliest Catch showing up, and to top it off, we have one more special guest that we have later on in our run that I'll point out when we get there. So we're setting up, we're going up here first. You saw those speakers down below. That's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be getting rid of speakers in this area because Lady Meowmelee, the next boss for the kitty litter, has set up these speakers that are hypnotizing people to continuously dance. So we have to destroy the speakers so they'll stop dancing. And I went up there, and right when I got up here, I activated a checkpoint, and doing that checkpoint and then jumping all the way down here, and as long as I don't go down below, I completely skip having to go onto the beach and backtracking. And now that I haven't landed down on the ground, I'm going to just roll off to the side over here. And then I'm going to spawn right back up here, and we're going to head down to the next set of speakers. There we go. We have 3 more sets of speakers to go. We're going to jump down here. So this next set of speakers is usually the speakers that you get first when you're playing this casually. But because of the pathing that we have, this is a lot easier to grab it right here. In my opinion, that is. I think some of the other runners actually go for that one first. Oops. So now we're going to go up here, and we have to get this other speaker out of here by raising up the cage that it's under. In order to do that, we have to take this cooler that's heavy for some reason, and then we're going to jump up here, drop down the platform, and we're able to roll off. Now, right now, we're going to be going on to the last trick of this level, and that is called Octodad Skip. What you normally have to do here is Octodad has lost his children. He's a bad parent, sorry. So what we're going to do is we're going to go around here, and we're going to completely skip around his dialogue box there. And then we're going to slide perfectly here, and then we're going to get over here, and in turn, skip having to find all 3 of the children, talk to Octodad again, and him putting up floaties in order for us to get over to that island. And there you have all of securing the talent in Gilly Island. Alrighty. So after this, the next level is Trapped in Paradise. And Trapped in Paradise can be... there's an interesting story around Trapped in Paradise where there's a category in this game called no BH, or no bonk hopping, which is our main trick, obviously, that we use. And me, I'm one of the few people that has actually run the category, and when I was doing that category, I wanted to find a faster route to get through this category besides having to hit switches and flip platforms down and across to get to it. So I was able to figure out a fast way of getting around this this level, Trapped in Paradise, fast with no bonk hop, and adapted it so I could bonk hop over walls using the regular category here. So doing this pathway, normally you have to get all 5 of these umbrellas and open them up, and in order to get over them, you have to use the umbrellas to bounce up top because they have a bouncy effect when you jump on top of them. And instead, since we have bonk hopping, we're actually able to bonk hop over every single wall. And in the original game, we're actually able to still stand on the walls, but they got rid of the aspect of standing on these normally. But instead, we can, if we do it right, you're actually able to stand on top of them, but you bounce off, and you can use that to your advantage. And if I do everything correctly, I should be able to do that coming up right here. Nope, okay, that's fine. There we go. Talk to the sheriff here. Then we grab this, we're going to jump out and open this one up. Then we're going to go over here. And there you have it. We have now completed Trapped in Paradise. That was actually pretty decent. So now that this world is very short because our next level that we're going to be doing is actually the last one of this world, and that is our next 2D level. And it's very short, but you thought that you were done with Lieutenant Fluff and Stuff and General Buttons. You'd be wrong, because in this level they are very mad that we managed to get rid of them. So instead they decide to take it upon their hands to get back into their ship and try and hurt us with cannonballs, which can be very violent. So the whole level we are going to be dodging their cannonballs. And normally what you want to do in this level to collect stuff is to use the cannonballs to your advantage, and you're going to hit barrels out of the way so you can go through. But we're not going to be doing that for any one of the stuff that's in here. Let's see if I can get this. Cool. So here they are, Lieutenant Fluff and Stuff and General Buttons. They're pretty mad at us right now, so they want to tell us about it by jumping close to us, and then after that jumping back. And then we're going to just run forward. So right here is a trick called Cabana Skip. If I can get it. Alright. Well, I've never had this much trouble with it before. There we go. So what we do here is we go over the top of the cabana here. And in doing so, we don't have to wait for the bomb to open up the bottom. But with how I did that, it would have been just safer just to go down below. And then we're gonna go this way and just run. Okay, those birds were generous enough. They can really screw you over. Whew. So we're gonna go in here, and as you can see, they have cannonball, or they have barrels that are on top of their... Oh, crap. On top of their ship, so we have to sink it by making them hit their own stuff with the cannonballs that they're shooting at us. That was... At least I was able to show off the trick. Now that we are done with that, we are going to go over to Lady Meowmalade. And her boss fight is notorious. She is quite easy, but sometimes you can fail her pretty hard. By dying to her and losing a pretty decent run. But this boss has interesting aspects to it, and it has some of the heaviest RNG involved when it comes to one aspect of the boss. So she's going to start singing. And the music's just going to stop, and she's going to get mad because she thinks that Lucky did it. So right here, we want to be in the blue area and not the pink area, because the pink area will turn into a red area and shock us. So this is where some of the RNG comes into play. We're going to be fighting with this the entire boss fight. And this first set of lasers for the second phase is always the same, so as long as you know where to stand, then you're good. So we stand right here, then we're going to run all the way over here. Won't hit us, then we're just going to follow this around. And stop about right there. That's where we can now hit her 3 times. Now, one thing you can do in this boss, I'm not really good at it, is you can actually stay up on this wall the entire time, but I'm really bad at it, and you have a chance of actually hitting a death, a kill area above the boss theirs, and I don't want to risk it doing it, so I just do this boss normally. And as you saw, I just killed the bees. Those bees are dancing, and that's one aspect I really like about this boss fight, is the dancing bees. They make me laugh every time. Alright, so now instead of just having to worry about lasers, we also have to worry about not getting shocked as well. Alright, we'll take that. So now we're, as you saw this whole time, it's been decreasing in size, the good ones. And now they're down to 4 and 1. And there goes the head. So now she's like, well, you didn't get hurt or killed by those ones, so instead of having just 4 lasers, why not have 6 lasers? There we go. And she is done. Getting hit really didn't change anything. There's no way to... That's the one boss that there's no way of actually speeding up her process. Except for hitting her faster or slower. Alright. Now we're going into the final world of the game, and that is Hauntingham. And the first level of this world is actually the most changed compared to the original game, because this level, Carnival Court, in the original game, what you had to do is you had to find 3 lost ghost children, which in turn we actually just ignore saving all of them, and then they meet up with their family. However, in this one you have to collect tickets by doing mini games and helping out people. You get 3 tickets in order to get the final page, the last page of the level. And this is slowly becoming one of my favorite levels. It's super fun and easy, and one of the most fun mini games is in here. It's racing a chicken. Unfortunately, we won't be doing that, but if you play this casually, go and play the chicken race. So also in this level, we have our last guest of the run. We'll be seeing him later on. The skip that we just did skipped having to meet our special guest. So it will save both cutscenes for the same time later on. Now right there is one of those ring the bell to win games, but those jinx blocks were in the way. So normally what you have to do is you have to bounce down below on the bounce pads over there, and then you're able to ring the bell. However, you can just bonk up the side of the wall. And that was ticket number 1. Then we're gonna talk to this gypsy, who we find out her crystal ball has been stolen, and we don't know why somebody would do that, but we do know that it's always in the same spot, which is right here. And since the crystal ball is right there, we can go ahead and get the ticket from these bumper cars. And if you're counting, that would be our 3rd ticket, and we'll be able to this will be our 2nd ticket, and then taking the crystal ball over to the gypsy will be our 3rd ticket, and we'll be able to finish up the level. So you saw the camera there for some reason likes to freak out. There we go. We're gonna run all the way over here. As long as we're staying where I'm at right now, we will not be hit by any of the enemies. So we're gonna jump down here, and when we turn in the crystal ball, we will not touch anything because we can actually soft lock the camera right there. We can go into a camera lock, and we would have to reset and go back, or go back into the level. There we go, and now we just go and talk to our character. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is Clive the Barker, or Clive Barker, the great actor, director, producer, songwriter, Clive Barker. And that's our special guest. We only see him for that short of time, which is unfortunate, but he helped us out, and we're very grateful. Now that we're done with that, we're going to be going into our final 2D level of the run, and that is Terror Train. And Terror Train is my favorite level in the entire run. I know I've said that multiple times, but I truly, this is my favorite level in the entire run because it's just pure running forward and hitting tricks. So there we go. We get over here, and we're going to go into the train, and this is where a donation could be read, because it's just a lot of running forward. Well, not forward, but to the side. And a lot of technical knowing where everything is going to be. So this is the only trick we do in the entire level, is that. And then we jump up and grab it. And that is Terror Train. Like I said, it's a very fast level, but it's super fun to run. Now that we're done with that level, we're going to be going into another level that is pretty broken because of bonk hopping, and that is Grave Awakenings. Grave Awakenings is broken because we're doing our second out of bounds trick in here, and this out of bounds trick was found by Adventurous Vivi, who also found the B skip. There's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of tricks throughout this entire game that was just found by community members by accident or by trial and error of doing stuff. And the bonk hop that we're going to be doing here at the very beginning is actually found by somebody else, King. And we're going to, normally what you would have to do here is you would have to go all the way over to the right and go up and get a lantern, which allows for you to see hidden platforms that the ghosts have hidden. But we're not going to be doing that. Instead, we're going to be going over to the left-hand side there where that torch is, and we're going to be bonk hopping through that torch and up to the top, on top of the skull that's up here. This will allow for us to... Oops. There we go. This will allow for us to go over to the side here and bonk hop out of bounds. And going over this way, this is actually the third area you're supposed to be for this area, but going over here, we actually skipped a whole cutscene and talking a bunch of dialogue boxes and stuff like that. So doing this completely skips having to watch all of that. So now we're hitting all of these grave these gravestones in the correct order, you will see all of them light up, and you know which order to hit them in because of the flame or the candles on top. And as you see in front of me, there's absolutely nothing in front of us to block where the page is, and that's because we didn't get the cutscene for the Jinx boxes to fall down. But now that we've done that area, they're right here, blocking our pathway. Okay, so right here we have to grab 6 of these, and we're going to go in a specific order here to not get hit. We need to have all of our... Okay, that's fine. We have this for safety, and we're going to need all this help that we can in order to get the final... Oh, crap. That's not good. Okay, we're fine. There we go. Then we're going to go over here. And we're going to... There we go. You can slide on those spikes. That's why we need all of our health. Because it's a lot faster than having to burrow underneath all those spikes and go around in circles and stuff like that. So here's the second ghost. He will always be the second ghost. And then we're going to grab that, and then go down here. Grab that, and we're going to take the lantern, which is normally what you have to do in this level. And I'm stupid. Come on, lantern. Well then, that was embarrassing. So you have to take this all the way over here. Drop it down. And we're going to grab that for safety purposes. There we go. So right here, it can lag quite a bit. It will always lag here for some reason. There we go. Jump on him. Then these ghosts will always be the same spot, so as long as you hit it, and this last area, those bee stingers can actually hit back at the bees themselves, but that was a little mishap. And we're going to be getting the third ghost in the first ghost spot, and she's going to go down and help her ghost friends there by hitting everything forward. Now that that's cleared, the ghosts are going to be like, thanks for helping, here's your prize. And then we're done with that. So now after that, we have one more level left for us to do. And that is before we go into the final boss, and that is an auto-scroller level. So on that auto-scroller level, it has, once again, it has its perks and stuff like that, or its gimmicks, and the gimmick of this one is that some of the platforms that you're on will drop down, and there will be spike walls coming at you, but this is probably the last spot where donations can be read. But I just want to point out that I am notorious for dying on this one. I've died multiple times during races. Just hopefully I don't die this time. Alright, and go. So this path I'm taking is basically only for the any percent route, because all the other paths will be doing something completely different, including any percent that actually doesn't even do these last 2 levels in the game. Alrighty, and as long as I get past this stuff safely. The area where I've died is coming up right here. At these bees right here. For some reason, Lucky just didn't want to bounce there or jump. There we go. And we're getting to the very end of this. We're gonna go all the way up, and then we're gonna go all the way back down. Right here, and down. And we're done with that level. There we go. Now that we're done with that, we can finally go on to the final boss of the game, which is Jinx. And he's the leader of the kitty litter. And this is the most RNG fight in the entire thing, obviously, because he's the final boss. But I also have a tradition. Every time that I play this game, I have to act out the final cutscene with the dialogue in it. So that's what I'm going to do here. Lucky, over here.
Lucky, over here.
Lyra. I'm so glad you're here. How did you get into the book? She didn't. Foolish child. Jinx. I've been waiting for you, Lucky Swifttail. I really must thank you. The book is finally mine! Alright. So what's going to happen now is, on this first set, Jinx is going to send out these little plasma blasts. And these plasma blasts are random, so you don't know where they're going to be coming from. That includes right underneath your feet, and there's nothing you can actually do about it. And then he's going to be sending out those laser eyes for his second set after he moves this again. But there's a certain time frame that he has for the laser eyes, so if you move as far away from him as you can, then you sometimes only have to jump over him once and sometimes only twice. Then he's done with the plasma. He's going to move it back into normal spot. And let's see what... Oh, this is one of the worst places for this to be. So we have to destroy these ghosts. Then we're going to go into Jinx coming down here to try and come after us. We're going to move him all the way over here. Then we're going to bounce off of him 3 times. This allows for us to skip having to... Normally what happens there is Jinx will get hit and he'll fly off of the stage. And then you have to wait for him to come back down. So doing that allows for us to just get all 3 of the phases done right away. So as you saw, his laser eyes are a lot shorter this time. So if you get far enough away from him, you won't have to jump over it. But I was in a pretty terrible position there. Then he's going to move stuff again. We're going to stand right here and move all the way over to the right here. This means I won't have to jump over anything. Laser eyes, and then turn it one more time. There we go. And then this is going to turn around. We're going to stand right here, hopefully. Good, good, good. That's a good one. I'm not sure if that actually helps with manipulation, but I just like to say that it does. That was really good. So we're going to do that manipulation another time. So this last phase is a little bit different. He's going to do that, but then he's going to raise up the platforms, and he's going to use his laser eyes here, and we're going to run away from the laser eyes while he's on his while we're on his platforms here. And then he's going to start sending out ghosts at the same time as he has that going on. Then he's going to send out his laser eyes. And as long as we hit that ghost and land on the ground. Now, we cannot do the manipulation right here because he actually goes over to the side. This is actually a really good ending. Oops. Except for that. That's not that big of an issue. There we go. And timing happens when I lose control of Lucky when he runs toward the book. And 3, 2, 1, time. 1:22:53. But anyway, thanks for watching. I really appreciate you watching this, and I really hope that it's chosen for the marathon because we've worked very hard in this. The community is very excited for the marathons that it has gotten into, and I believe that the audience would enjoy it quite a lot, and the people online would enjoy it a lot. It's done very well at other marathons. But thanks for watching, and thank you again.